Hello, Ames Chamber of Commerce members. This is Drew Camp, Vice President here at the Ames Chamber of Commerce for our March 6th. Yes, it is crazy that it is already March. Legislative update. We're 2 weeks away from the next legislative funnel, so there is still quite a bit of activity happening down at the State House, but I really want to focus on just some of the key bills that we're really monitoring, and all of them except one really fall under our priority topic of talent. And those topics are or policies, I should say, are Invest in Iowa, Future Ready Iowa, a grant program to recruit Puerto Ricans for relocation for workforce, universal licensing, and then the last bill, which is kind of separate but does fall under developing a talent pipeline, is the school funding bill that was ultimately passed this week as well to find out how much schools will be getting in supplemental state aid. So to start with the Invest in Iowa Act, that's the governor's really ambitious act that we're in favor of to increase the sales tax by 1 cent and really put a lot of different pieces in there for income tax reform, property tax reform with mental health reduction, child care assistance, getting rid of the water excise tax, implementing I will, things that we think would be very, very beneficial, especially as we try to attract and retain qualified and talented workforce. That had a subcommittee on Wednesday afternoon. I went down for it. It was a packed house. There was a lot of people who spoke in favor of it. No one actually spoke against the bill, which was very much positive, obviously. There was only a few that even came up and spoke as undecided, Iowa Farm Bureau being one of those, because they really want to see some of the things worked out, the Farm Bureau, that is. They want to see some things worked out with the water quality and the I will language for that 3/8 sales tax penny that goes to water quality and outdoor recreation. Some of the other people that were concerned, it was more so with the stability of the funding for mental health and really wanting to make sure it's protected like a constitutionally protected fund where it can't be manipulated session after session because obviously current legislatures can't bind future legislatures to what their priorities are going to be. So those were some of the issues that were brought up. But once again, very much a positive. There was no individuals or groups talking in opposition to that bill. We'll kind of wait and see what happens with that. We think there might be some changes, but we'll have to wait and see in the next week or two as to what might be proposed for some amendments for that bill. Future Ready Iowa is another one of our priority bills that falls under talent, and that really just has a lot to do with workforce and training of qualified workforce. It has a lot to do with partnering with community colleges and our school districts and the state Department of Education and Economic Development Authority and others that are involved in trying to develop a talent pipeline throughout the state. That had a subcommittee on Thursday afternoon. Our own Dave Dio is actually chairing and running that bill in the House. So we are really happy to see that bill move forward, especially being that it's one of our priorities and it's always had broad, unanimous support on a bipartisan basis the last couple sessions. So that's something we're really happy to see move forward. We have no reason to believe that bill won't move forward and get to the governor's desk here in the next couple weeks. I also mentioned that grant program that is being proposed for the Iowa Economic Development Authority that would really help recruit and relocate workforce from Puerto Rico. There was a subcommittee on that on Tuesday. That's a very much an interesting bill because our Workforce Solutions program has actually looked at using this program similar to this through a private contractor to assist some of our manufacturers and other employers here in the community. So it's really fascinating, and we're supportive and like the fact that the state is now looking at putting a concrete piece within the Iowa Economic Development Authority to help move that forward, maybe as a statewide basis. The universal licensing legislation, that had a subcommittee on Wednesday afternoon that continues to move forward, but as we've talked about before, there continues to be pieces that people want to make sure are addressed because there's a lot of different licenses that you have to look at and consider when you're looking at universal licensing. The last bill that I want to touch on is the school funding bill that passed on Wednesday. It passed the Senate 31-17 and it passed the House 51-46. It'll now head to the governor's desk for her signature. Just to give you an idea of what this 2.3% increase will provide schools, it will provide them 85.57 million in supplemental state aid. It will provide them 7.65 million in rural transportation equity, and it will provide 5.8 million in per pupil equity, which provides a total increase in funding of $99.02 million for FY 2021, which starts July 1st of this year. So we were obviously happy with the progress being made on several of our priority pieces of legislation this week. We were also happy to see the school funding, which had kind of been lingering, was able to get passed this week. That's a big deal. So they can now move forward and start focusing on budgets and some of their top priority policy issues as we head into the legislative funnel coming up at the end of, not next week, but the week after on March 20th. So we'll continue to see a lot of activity to make sure those bills get moved prior to that deadline. Please do come back and join us next week. We'll have a lot to talk about as we look at some of our other priority pieces of legislation. But also, I would be remiss if I did not mention Ames Day at the Capitol is St. Patty's Day, March 17th. If you're interested in participating in any way, please just reach out to us. You can feel free to call our office and ask to speak to me. I'm happy to talk through anything you might want to know about the event with you, and so you can learn more about it and see if you want to participate. With that, that will conclude our weekly update for this week. Thank you very much for watching and have a great weekend.